Hey, hello, everyone. Dr. Sue here. And I always want to have a moment when I can share what matters most in life whenever I can grab it with you. And so the other day, I was sitting in conversation with a dear friend of mine, and we were just diving into some of the things that matter most about what's happening in our world today and how we know what it takes to approach life at this time from a perspective that is literally going to set us free. And so while we were having this conversation, we recognized that, you know what, everybody that we know should be hearing this conversation. We should just plug in and let everybody join in. So I was talking with my good friend, Colette Baron-Reid, and many of you may know her, of course, and some of you may not. So I want to just tell you a little bit about her, and then I'm going to bring her in and we're just going to chat. We're going to pick up kind of where we left off and include you in on the mix because these are the moments that matter most. Okay. So Colette is an author, and she is an internationally acclaimed oracle expert. And so she combines spiritual intuition and personal transformation. She is a thought leader. She is a business strategist and an artist and educator. She's basically a Renaissance woman. And, you know, I love that because when we tap into these various aspects of who we are, there is a wisdom that comes forward like no other. When we are allowing our artistry and also our curiosity about the science of life to merge and to meld and to come forth, and we're allowing ourselves to apply our own personal wisdom. And when we've also spent time working with patients, in my case, and clients in Colette's case, over a long period of time, you begin to cultivate a clarity about life. And so this is what I want to bring forward and share with you in the next few moments. So I want to just tell you a little bit more about Colette. She has like card decks that she's created that she uses in terms of teaching qualities and giving personal sessions with people and working with large groups of people and corporations, etc. She has published 19 of these in, I don't know, like 27 different languages around the world. She's a global presence. She's an amazing individual, and she's producing another one right now and launching that into the world. And I certainly want you to be made aware of that and some other cool things that she's doing right around the corner. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her forward and allow you to plug in with this amazing woman, author, 7 books. She's an amazing individual, and I just can't wait to share her with you. So Colette, hello. Hello, my dear. Hello again.
So fun. So fun to be here. I know you guys who are watching this. Me and Sue were talking the other day, and we were like, we get into the zone together, her and I, and we were like, we should be telling people about it. And then she said, would you come on? Yeah. So it was
everyone
great.
everyone else needs to be privy to.
Yeah, we should be hanging out with all of them.
So here we are. So I'm hanging out with you again, my dear, because I love to spend time on the topics of life that matter most. It is what juices me. It is the reason I'm on the planet. And I know that this runs through your veins as well. And so, you know, we were talking about things along the lines of the chaos that is happening in our world and how people are not equipped to manage it. And they know that they're at a choice point. They know that we are drawn into the chaos, or we become a stabilizing presence in the midst of it, that it's either something that's happening to us or it's something that's happening for us. And the conversation just got really juicy at that time. So, what do you want to share about what your experiences are at this time regarding stabilizing our humanity in all ways possible?
You're so brilliant. I just could sit here and listen to you talk the whole time, but that's not what we're doing. I love language. You know, I'm like, words are important. So yes, you know what I loved most when you started talking, you talked about over time, because I've been doing this work now full time for 36 years. That's been my entire life's commitment, is these past 36 years to do this kind of work. Transformational, personal transformation, working with all kinds of different tools, techniques, and technologies or whatever. And you're right. Over time, we cultivate a level of clarity, especially when we see things repeat. So I know something for sure, and that even though everything evolves and changes, there's a thread that has gone through my life experience. And I have seen it with thousands of people and whatever, and we get very blind to it. I think we all experience spiritual narcolepsy at a level right now that at its peak, which is when we get fearful. We tend, interesting enough, I'll give you an example. When we drive down a highway and this beautiful sunset is over here, but there's a car on fire over here. But we know that the sunset was where we wanted to see that beautiful property that we were going to go see and go live at and build something that serves others. But the fire in the car is what
has your attention,
right? And if we look at it too long, we might have an accident. Right. And that's what's happening to everybody right now. Like now I'm at a stage personally where, I look at the news and I'm aware, even physiologically, what happens to me, because everything is biased too. Like it's just fascinating how, I even say something out loud in front of my computer and it shows up as an ad. Like, oh, she wants to know about this. I'm like, oh.
Right.
Right. So it's really like now, especially energetically, 60 countries are having their elections. Right, 60 countries. Yeah. So there is a global destabilization, especially if you look too much at what is changing immediately, because we want to stay in our comfort zone. That's what happens. The minute we're afraid, we're going to pull back. We look at the change and we're built like that. We want certainty. So we're going to go back in and we're going to try to protect ourselves, even if there is no Tyrannosaurus Rex coming at us. Right? We can't see this will be good, right? Unless we are at a place where we've done some work and we can be a little more detached and say, okay, how can I serve in this? And you're right. Either we're going to be part of the stabilization in the center of the hurricane, or we're going to get, like one of those cows. I remember seeing a cow going round and round.
Was that like The Wizard of Oz or something?
One of those movies on tornadoes. We're like, whoa, we're going to have that happen.
Right.
And I know we need tools. And when I look back at when I first got sober, so I should tell your audience, I'm 38 and a half years sober, one day at a time. And I had got sober when I was 27. Life changed dramatically because all I saw was chaos. So I can use that as an analogy. All I saw was chaos. All I saw was destruction. All I was doing was reacting to all the violence that had happened to me, which is what got me there in the first place. And then when I got clean and sober, I was like, wow, nothing really changed. I changed, therefore my perception changed. And I meditated every day, 90 minutes a day. And I had a very strong spiritual program. And I worked with oracles because I had gone to a Jungian therapist. That's how I became obsessed with creating divination techniques and products to help people navigate. Because I went in to see this therapist, she brings out a deck of cards. And I'm like, what are you doing? I didn't come for a reading. I'm coming for therapy. And they're like, no, here. And it told me what I needed to know to grow. I'm like, well, that's a whole other ball of wax now. So anyway, for all of us, I think when I look back at that, the choice that I made was to choose the higher. It's not higher ground, because I think when you use that high low, that's kind of, the connotations are odd, but it's that sense of I'm going to choose for myself clarity. However it comes, even if it's difficult, I'm going to pick that. And because the chaos, even looking at it too long, you get completely hypnotized. And that's all you see. You can't see. So right now, especially these next 6 months, I will take a time frame. We need more help, or the people need more help. Even I do. I've doubled down on my practices. Double down. I don't ever go on anything that could possibly tell me these stories. I could care less. I'm like, I'm going to be present for whatever comes my way and help where I can, but I won't get seduced. But seduction is also distraction from fear. Ooh, right. I can then get in conspiracy head, right? So we talked about all your work too, with energy codes and all the things that you teach. And what I do, of course, is especially around Oracle cards, hence why there are 19 of them, 19 decks, is to help people learn how to use the tool so that they stay in alignment one day at a time. Just one day at a time.
Yeah. It is incremental in that way. I'm constantly working with our community to learn embodiment techniques, learn how to stabilize the mind by paying more attention to what's going on in the body. Because when the mind is directed to the body, it automatically becomes more spacious. It becomes more grounded and centered. And it starts to dial into an alpha frequency, which is more like the eye of the storm than getting caught up in the circumstances of life. And while we are learning to do that, it allows us to have that capacity to remain stable no matter what's going on in the outer world. And while we're seated there in this deep core space, it is important for us to recognize that the entirety of our life experience is representation. We're looking at a movie that is a reflection of what we're projecting. So I oftentimes hold up these posters that show this unified field of energy becoming a funnel, becoming a channel, hitting the earth, rising up and cycling around and then projecting itself forward. And that's what we are. We are that entire process.
Yes.
Projecting onto this movie screen. And so it's important for people to realize that everything that we're observing and witnessing and walking through and experiencing is a reflection of how we're allowing consciousness to pour through us. And so when it comes to, this is what I love about what you do and what I do together, is that when we draw a card, or we are finding ourselves even in a conversation such as this right now, someone's going through their emails and they click on something and woo, here they are automatically in our world right now, having this conversation with us. There's a reason for all of it. All of it is the signage that happens along the way in this movie as we're traversing down the road in our own movie. And so we draw a card and it's a vibrational representation of what information is coming toward me today that will be valuable for me to focus on to allow all of the work that I'm doing in terms of embodiment and spiritual evolution and awakening and personal or spiritual development to take a refined focus in this moment that would allow me to recognize what will support me the most right now. What is important for me to focus on right now? So we draw a card and it draws our attention to something that can open up a pocket of unconsciousness and bring it up to conscious awareness in an instant. And I love this about the tools that you're creating in these decks because of exactly that. I have a couple of books that are written in a way that allow people to just open them in any place. One is, Tools for Transformation, Awakening to Your Magnificence. One is Energy Man Moments, etc. But they're not something that you read. It's something you can open on an.
They're oracles. I was going to tell you.
So it's the same. This is what I love about your cards, and what I love about how you provide these cards and the instructions and the conversation that is infused in the explanations of the cards that are drawn is based in my come from. It's where we're walking this path together, and I love that. I love that your interpretation of the various aspects of what someone could draw is very similar to what I would interpret when I read them. I'm like, oh yeah, we're on the same page in this way. And so I know that it would be a beautiful thing for our community to participate in, because we are in that alignment. Oftentimes I get invited to do interviews, and I know you do too, all the time. And it's not always the exact alignment that we would love it to be. And that's what we were talking about, the other day, actually, is the alignment that we have that allows for this fluidity to happen in our communities and in our collaborations and our connections. And so I'm I'm just thrilled to be here with you now. So what else do you want to,
Yeah.
what else do you want to bring forward, dear
Well,
one?
I actually want to, everything that you said you've said it better than I ever have, which is interesting. I was like going, boy, I got to write that down. But the idea to a lot of people tend to look at divination tools and this as particularly woo woo or whatever. I mean, it is, and it's a way that people say, oh, that's not materialism. Well, of course it isn't. We are exactly as you described. We are consciousness, like spirit or consciousness needs us to experience itself in form. It needs us to, like, as a channel, like otherwise it has nothing to project through, right? So there's this relationship that we have to the conscious universe that is innate. And interesting thing you said about your body, the body piece, because you know that I have a tendency to not be in my body. But what using oracle cards do for a person is when you have that immediate moment of witnessing and recognition, you're back in your body. Because it's an undeniable thing, and it comes from a place that is not intellectual. So it's a knowing, and when you get into that plunk, right? Because that's really intuition and the embodiment, right? Are cousins, right? They're cousins. So invisible, intuitive information that may not make intellectual sense, comes in, but it lands in the body. The body is the measure. The body is the measure. The body is the instrument, right? You're going to know if it's in tune or out of tune. And so it's not something you think. So what these things do, because typically when you get into that chaos, you are in the head and you're trying to figure a way out. And then you get completely disconnected, right? So then how can you be embodied when you're like here, there, and everywhere trying to be safe, right? Or trying to put up your dukes. It's like fight or flight, right? And then there's, right. So using these cards as a reflection, like what's the energy I need to look at today? Or what's my dominant energy right now? Like, oh, because sometimes the cards will respond to that first. You say like, what do I need to know today? And then you're thinking about, I'd really like to know how to get through this situation. And it'll basically present what you already know but don't have access to, sometimes because you're split in too many ways, because that's the way the human mind works. So this just zeroes you in, you become more embodied, have a different perspective, and then you've been witnessed, and it's uncanny. And then you go back, oh, right? And then you can calm down.
We're walking around in a movie that is sort of like creative soup. It's infinite potential, infinite possibility. And when we focus in on a given topic, it's not only the card that we draw, and this is what I love about it, it's our response to it. That's what we come to know. We come to know, what is my response to it? It's sort of like when someone's having a difficult making a decision. Lisa and I always talk about, we could flip a coin, and heads is this and tails is that. And you flip the coin, and it's not about the coin telling you what to do. Right. It's about you witnessing your response to whether it landed on heads or tails. If you're like, oh, I knew it. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. Or you're like, oh, no, I don't want that. Now you actually know how you feel based upon what the coin showed you. So the oracle cards can also operate in this way. You draw something and it stirs something in you. What does it stir? That's what I'm interested in. Is I don't want the card to tell me what to do, but I want to know how I respond to what the card has to say. Then I come to know myself more readily, more quickly, because in an infinite creative soup, there's a lot of stuff to focus on. So this is giving us an opportunity. Like, how about this?
How about
Draw this forward and see where you stand on what this has to say about you. And by doing so, we become clear in a symphonic sort of way, just by whatever it is that has unfolded in the moment that we decided to do something for ourselves in drawing a card. Yeah, so it just makes it super fun.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to just say about, you commented about people, saying that it's not about the finite, the material world. It's not about what's true or real or scientific and that kind of thing. And I just want to say that, science in the next 2 lifetimes, and I'm going to be around to witness this, but in the next couple of lifetimes, that amount of time, science is going to have been redefined so much because generationally we are evolving, right? As quantum science comes into the picture, and we realize that what we think about comes about. That what we're intending, what we're awakening to is that the experimenter is having an effect on the experiment just by observing the experiment and coming from a particular intention of discovering this, that, or the other. And so the boundaries of science and the rigid lines of science as we have known it are definitely threatened. They are definitely being dotted lines. And so the intuitive and the consciousness and perception and desire and evolutionary impulse that is rising in us is going to play a bigger role than it did for our grandparents and our parents and our teachers. And it's up for us right now. It's up for us to learn how to manage that and to master it and to give it a place, its rightful place in creation, because it is a greater truth than what has already been manifested and is measurable in terms of what science is used to. So the creative cutting edge is our right place in this experience that we are in, intending and creating and intuiting and desiring and honoring those things. And so this is what I love about you and your stick-to-itiveness over the decades of holding true to what you knew was your right guidance. And by your sharing and offering that to other people, it is birthing that in them. It is giving them permission to do the same. And that's what we're doing here in the world. I walk the same path. People say to me all the time, what is so wonderful about being in your community is that you're walking the talk. You're walking it. You're demonstrating it. You're modeling it for us. And you're doing the same, Colette. And I know that hasn't always been easy. It hasn't always been easy for me, because a lot of times I'm surrounded by other thinking people, and thinking. There's a lot of power in opinion, and a lot of opinions are not exactly on this frontier where we're sitting right here. And
I went to law school, so this was not an okay profession.
No, you don't get here from there. Right.
That's why I got in trouble.
And likewise, my world, my colleagues were all like, what's going on? But 30 years ago when I started, pursuing this, and now it's coming full circle, and they're coming back around to me and saying, I remember you talking about this back in the 90s.
Or they sign up for your classes.
Right. Yes. Well, and I'm honored by that. And I'm thrilled to have them now as part of our community. And the more the merrier. And the more we get the engineer, the more we get the attorney, the more we get the logical thinkers, the more we get the doctor, the more we get the surgeon and, the anesthesiologist who has to live by exactly the rules to open as they are in our community and become leaders in our community because of what's birthing inside of them. Now we get to walk the both and. Now we get to be in logical, linear reality that is highly functional and super successful. And we also get to be in this creative, artistic expression in the world that brings satisfaction and fulfillment and the beauty of life together in a way that allows us to evolve to the humanity that we are truly intended to be.
It doesn't work without the other, though. That's the other thing. It just doesn't. I mean, it works in tandem. And I'm glad you said both and, because that's something I really stress with my communities, that you have to understand both and. It doesn't mean that you discount the other so that the other could be more prominent. It's all important. But it's also about where you place your attention. So we live in a conscious universe that expresses itself in the material. Right. And the material has consciousness. It's everything is consciousness, and everything is a movie, and we get to pick which channel we're on. Right. But we also lose the capacity to pick when we fall asleep, like the spiritual narcolepsy, when we're falling asleep at the wheel, when all of a sudden we went from spiritually aligned to Chicken Little, right? Where the sky is
Right.
falling.
Yes. Right. Yeah. A lot of
So
Chicken Little opportunities these days, right?
right?
It's upon us, right? It's
Yeah.
time.
Next week is my birthday. So I decided birthday week, I'm going to be 66, and I decided beautiful number, and that's the new 40. No,
Yeah.
maybe this is what 66 is. You know what I'm saying? Because I plan, I'll be with you too in the next couple of generations, and we'll both look young
Right.
and hot. Anyway, but the idea too that, this next 6 months. So I thought, you know what? I went to Hay House and I said, I really want to do, instead of doing Oracle Palooza, which is this big event that I do, I moved that to January. I said, I really want to put out this free 3-day, basically hour and a half each day training series on mastering Oracle cards. It's the secrets of Oracle card mastery. Because if people can learn this, they don't have to, follow me after that. They don't have to do anything if they don't want to. But the thing is that I know everybody's going to need this. Everybody's going to need some kind of tool. So whoever likes it and thinks that, ooh, that could be for me. And, there is a science to this. There is a technology to this. We tune into consciousness and it tells us exactly what's true, that our small self can't have too many machinations around it, because it really is that higher self, or that self, the great I am, that's the one coming through saying, here's the real story. It's really there. And if you get that on a day-to-day basis, you have more access to it. So it's an exercise, like going to the intuition gym, or it's like going to the I am gym, right? Not the me bubble gym. It's the one that knows. And so the more you do it, the more access you have. The more access you have, the less likely you are going to make choices that will have consequences, right? The kind of consequences that you really don't.
I love what you're saying. It's, because people will say, I'm not not about me, but about themselves, that they're not very intuitive, or that they don't have that, they're not plugged in, they don't have that, and they wish they did. And I love what you're saying right now, that it's a matter of allowing yourself to begin, allowing yourself to return. It's like you don't say I'm not very strong and then not go lift some weights or do some exercise.
Right. Like
you don't go to the gym
you'll never
once.
be strong.
Right. You don't go to the gym once and say, I got it. You keep going, right? You keep at it, so that you develop the circuitry. In this case, you develop the circuitry to tap into our own true self, our own consciousness. And so I'm constantly doing that by teaching people how to build circuitry in their own system. You're doing this by giving people the opportunity to, in a moment's notice, have some practice, in a moment's notice, refine this, build a little bit of spiritual muscle, if you will. So,
and you know what? It's a byproduct. It's not even why you do it. Right. You don't, I'm going to become intuitive today. I mean, people come in, my favorite students are the ones that come in having known nothing, who are the doctors or the psychiatrists or the, or the scientists who are like, I don't know why I'm here, but I was drawn to the engineers that come afterwards like, wow, how did it know that? How is that so? Because I felt it. It was true. And I said, just keep doing it and then see what happens, because it's different for every single person, but everyone is born intuitive. You know why? Everybody is an intuitive, because intuition is the language of the conscious universe. And it comes to pictures, feelings, sensations, images. It doesn't speak English at you. Sometimes you can hear things in your head, but ultimately the bottom line is it's a way to sense the world, beyond our limitations of calculated thought, right? Where this is what I'm conditioned to see and know. And this is way beyond that. Every single person has it.
We're made of it. We are
made of it.
We can look in a different direction, but the truth is, when we land on the self, which is where we're supposed to be living, on subject, on self, it rises as this creative expression. And a way that translates is intuition, deeper knowing, gut feelings, inner wisdom. That quality it's what we're made of. So it's not only something that we possess. It's not something that we have. It's who we are. So when we're operating as the true self, we are that. So wait a second, I want to back up. You mentioned this 3-day thing. I just want to go to that.
Yeah, so normally I do another event the 19th, 20th, and 21st, and I'd love for you to invite all you guys can come. You're welcome to come. It's free. It's
Okay.
every day it's like an hour or
Of
two.
this month, like 19, 20, 21
July,
right now.
19th, 20th, and 21st of July. And if you can't make it live, you get the videos, you'll get the replays.
Awesome.
But it is a way to understand basically how we interface with conscious reality and how the oracle cards mastering them, instead of going at where am I now, where's it going, where am I going, am I going to get what I want, because that's what people mostly think. Instead, we learn that how can I become a powerful co-creator, and these three trainings will point you in the right direction using this particular deck, by the way, which is my deck I teach with, and people have access. You don't even need to have oracle cards. We give you a digital one to play with, right? So you can see if you like it. But yeah, this is the one I teach with. It's actually it's my best-selling one out of the 19. Actually, it's sold all over the world. But
Fabulous.
yeah, and it's just a way for you if you just come in open-minded and then see how does this resonate, and in what area of my life does this play out? Because, for example, you could be having these deep conversations with your partner about something that they're going through, and that actually shows up in the card because it will override because it's the thing. So you're like, I want this to happen, but it says, no, you need to be present to this that is about someone else, right? So sometimes that happens, but you always know what it means if you give it a minute to take root.
Right. And each one of those moments are stabilizing to us. They just
are stabilizing.
Hearing you talk about it, it becomes stabilizing. And that is an embodiment practice. When we stabilize gamma frequencies, when we stabilize the infinite possibilities and that potentiality, when we land it, it brings it into the realm where we can embody it. And so moment by moment, card by card, that's what's happening in your efforts there. Yeah. It's fabulous.
I'm writing down notes sometimes you say something. That's what we do. We're really good friends. So I'm like, what did you say? I have to write that down.
I love you so much. You are just the deal. You are the deal. So
we can give them an invitation. We'll send you guys something, or it'll be
okay. Great. We'll make sure everybody gets that. Definitely. Definitely.
But beyond the event, which is still great to talk about, but this is what I think. What you do, what I do, they're very complementary. They're tools, right? We teach, you're right, it's an embodiment technique. We need to be embodied in any way we can. When we are being so consistently, and I would say sustained uncertainty. I mean, that started with the pandemic. I mean, everybody will agree that we've all been subject to sustained uncertainty, and it's going to get worse. So even just for the next 6 months to have some practice that you put in and be serious about it, take it seriously and decide, what am I no longer willing to tolerate energetically? That's the other thing. We do very gentle shadow work in my school, for example. It's like, because things come up, I say, okay, so, no one is broken. This is just a mismatch, or you chose the wrong movie, or like, what if we do this? Or you've played this movie, the movie was given to you and said, this is you. So like, what if there is different? So there's ways in which that will start attracting. People don't come to you by accident, but they come to you because they feel or believe that they're missing something. And you say, oh no, we're just going to wire you up here. We're going to show you how to get rewired. Right. And
it's time to awaken something. Yeah. And that's how our paths cross, right? It's time.
Choose your awakening before it chooses you. That's the other thing. It's like when we were just looking at a Pluto transit in this place that I wanted to move to with an astrologer this morning. And he said, when Pluto calls, you should make the choice to change before the choice is made for you. And this is what's happening for everybody right now. Make the choice. Meditate with Dr. Sue. Come and work with my oracle cards. Do the do things. That's what I learned in sobriety, right? The do things, right? Like make sure, tick off your list. And everything else can wait. We can stretch time. I know that's completely outrageous to say that, but I know it's true. And as long as these things are your priority, everything falls into place. And then you trust that your trust is rooted in you. So sometimes you don't trust, and that's okay too. Just come in and see. Be curious. I think curiosity right now is our superpower. And the only way we can maintain curiosity is if we are releasing ourselves from fear and an expectation of a demolition derby in our backyard. Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Curiosity. Absolutely. And what I love about you is you're going to make those 3 days very fun. I know you.
Yes, I will.
These people are going to have some fun.
I will. And I'll get to talk to people too. People will come up on camera with me. And I'm actually the same as I am now everywhere. So what you see is what you get on stage, off stage, in the house, in the pool, on the street, standing in front of a podium. Yeah, it's the same. I think
definitely.
we all need to remember we picked this time to be here. Yes. And when I say we picked it, I would like to change that. I'm going to say that the conscious universe chose us so that it could experience this time through us for this brief time that we're on this planet. It needs us so that it can work through us. That's the other thing. We get choices because we are both an individual as we are a channel. But right, you were picked. You don't, right? You were picked and you picked. So what can we do together to make this beautiful?
Well, what we're recognizing as a humanity, definitely inside of this community, is that we are the universe compressed into physical form. And so there was a choice made. We are the animation of that choice. It begins to feel personal, and then it becomes impersonal. And then we recognize that we are the awakened universe here, in play. We're here to play and discover and create. And so this is a way that I know people can add to the delight vibration. One of the things that I'm teaching my community is
coming to this community of yours. This sounds like a fun place to be.
They're an amazing group of people.
I'm going to join.
I absolutely love playing in this crowd of people that have come from the corners of the earth and found one another. And what I know in our deepest teachings is that joy, bliss, laughter, that deep sense of a greater love in life are essential ingredients for awakening to happen, for us to achieve transcending our primal survival selves and really waking as our divine true selves. And so what I know about you is that you are the animation of that joyful swim in the river of life.
I'm an otter.
So I'm going to recommend that everybody plug into your July 19, 20, 21. And what are you calling it?
Oracle Secrets free live training series. Yes,
there you have it. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful time. And do make some arrangements to be at her 3-day event, because you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the parts of you that have been missing. So,
and it's only an hour and a half a day. It's not all day. It's just like an hour. Yeah, noon every day, Eastern Standard Time. You don't have to spend the whole day. Just do it an hour and a half with me, and then go. And then afterwards, your head will explode, and then you'll come back the next day, and you'll just be dying to do it again. And then the next day, and then you'll get a chance to hang out with your friends in the afternoon or your family in the morning. It's only from noon to 1:30 on this Friday, fabulous. Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah,
fabulous,
the big one is coming in January.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, we'll see you there. All right, everyone. Blessings to you all.
Blessings.
Thank you, Colette, for plugging in today. Okay. Love you so much. Okay. Yeah. Namaste, everyone.
Oh my God, we forgot to tell them. This is
okay. All right. Go ahead and tell them.
Okay, you guys got it. Okay, first of all, I just published, this is the newest deck. It's got all my own artwork on it, but Sue plays a part in this deck. So, and this is the best deck I've ever done, just so you know. Okay, so when Sue and I are both belong to the, an Avengers group called the Transformational Leadership Council, and we hung out there. And one day when she was on stage doing one of her fabulous meditations that I get to, anyway, so all of a sudden I saw this consciousness that was around her like a big giant bubble, and it had all these moving parts and like strings and strands, but it was really conscious and it was around her and it knew me. And I'm like, oh, does she know she has aliens there? No, but I didn't know what it was, but I was just staring at it and then looking away going, is it jet lag? No, let me look again. And it wasn't. And then I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be seeing this. So I told her, and of course she wasn't surprised, but that was very good because that made me love her even more. And then I promptly went home and I painted this. And so this is Sue's card. And this is Sue's card in my
My
deck.
hair feels like that sometimes.
Connection to the Cosmos.
That's
is
great.
what it's called. And actually, you
Beautiful.
can't really see it in the card, but because I paint giant paintings, but it's all like metallics and eyes coming through, and because that's what it looked like, this living web of creative energy that was itself conscious of itself, her, us, me. It was like, oh, you see me. It was very strange.
Yes, we see you.
Yeah, that was it. I'm like, I'm supposed to be friends with her for sure.
And so it is.
I want one. Okay. I think I have one, but I just haven't figured it out. All right. That's what we wanted to share with you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.